When your team isn't working together, there is nothing scarier than a Pharmercy combo. If played correctly, this simple tag team can oppress their enemies non-stop and lead their own team to victory. That begs the question, how does a pharah want to play, and how can we shut that down? Well, buckle up, because it's time to get good. 7 Esports, who will just be referred to as 7 Esports from here on out, came into King's Row one map up on the Curious Cats, having just taken Lijiang Tower. Their first round attack was scrappy, but they managed to capture all 3 points with some time to spare. Curious Cats would need to come up with something fast if they wanted to match their opponents and avoid going down 2-0 in the series. This is where the aerial menace comes into play.
Let's keep the skies clear together.
This dynamic duo is incredibly good at punishing slow rotations and poor positioning, making it difficult for teams of any level to play into if they aren't prepared. Pharmercy isn't run on King's Row very often, so Curious Cats have the element of surprise. They force the defense to adapt on the spot, which 7 Esports fails to do. The plan to defeat the pharah was to simply ignore her, and to win the fight against the front line before the rockets could do too much damage. Unfortunately for 7 Esports, they couldn't defeat the Wrecking Ball-based composition fast enough and fell. Even after swapping their DPS to characters who are much better at dealing with pharah, 7 Esports couldn't prevent the snowball. Curious Cats proceeded to capture all 3 points with even more time in the bank. Overtime situations are incredibly high stakes, and not every team is capable of clutching it up when it matters most. As you can imagine, simple mistakes like failing to keep a pharah in check would only be made worse when the clock is now your enemy as well. Despite the mounting pressure, 7 Esports did manage to take proactive fights and claim the first 2 points through an incredible overtime push. With only 3 ultimates remaining and no more time to speak of, an ill-fated EMP bomb combo would be the last major move of this promising offense. Now the only thing left to do was defend. Unsurprisingly, Curious Cats kept the same composition they had used on their first attack. Despite some heroic moments from Oak and Kilometer of 7 Esports, they were forced to give up first point. While the defenders remained stalwart up until this point in the round, this is where they started to crack. Curious Cats prevented 7 Esports from taking aggressive positioning anymore and quickly claimed second point as their own. All that stood between 7 Esports and defeat was just 2 turns and a few extra meters. It's almost poetic that the very thing that gave them so much trouble throughout the entire map of King's Row would be the final nail in the coffin. Curious Cats positioned their pharah on the high ground and waited for the perfect opportunity to strike. Just like that, a single barrage sealed the fate of 7 Esports.
No deflect.
Emery with 3 and the self-destruct gets nothing. This could be the beginning of the end. Curious Cats looking very strong on this attacking phase after so closely losing it on
Nobody's going to contest.
The self-destruct is there. No one can touch, as that's going to be it. Curious Cats tie up the series 1-1.
Pharmercy can be one of the strongest combos in Overwatch. It excels in punishing players and teams that aren't prepared. The easiest ways to prevent your team from falling into the same trap are to take quick engagements, constantly scout your surroundings, and most importantly, give your hitscan DPS enough space to deal with the pharah. Unfortunately for 7 Esports, they found themselves backed into a corner too often. They waited for Curious Cats to make the first move, and they were caught off guard too many times to win King's Row.